This maamar is based on a maamar of the Alter Rebbe, which explains an episode recorded in Tanakh, in the book of Malachim. We read it as the Haftarah of Parshas Vayera, an exchange between a woman and the prophet Elisha. And the Alter Rebbe explains this, like Chassidus always does, as being not just a particular historical event that happened once upon a time, but the spiritual meaning behind this event. This was a haftarah that is read in all communities on every year. But after we learn the way the Alter Rebbe explains it, and then the way the Rebbe pulls it apart, we'll see it in a completely different light. So I've made a copy for you first of the source in Tanakh, that we can read the story in its original. And then we'll go to the maamar and see how the Alter Rebbe transforms this story. So the story goes like this. Veisha Achas min shei bnei hanavim tzaka el Elisha. A certain woman from among the wives of the disciples of the prophets cried out to Elisha. Elisha was the head prophet of the time. So she cries out to him, saying this, Leimar, Avdecha ishi meis, your servant, my husband, is dead. Va'ata yodato ki avdecha hayod yore es Hashem, and you know that my husband, your servant, feared God, was a God-fearing man. And now the creditor has come to take my two sons to be his slaves. So this woman, who was the wife of one of the prophets, one of the disciples of the prophets, is crying out to Elisha saying that my husband's dead, he feared God, he was a good man, he's dead, he died with debts, owing money, and now the creditor to whom he owes the money is coming, demanding payment. And because I don't have any money, so the creditor is demanding to take my two sons as slaves, as payment of the debt of my late husband. That's what she comes to cry before Elisha. That's her issue, her problem. So, continues. Vayomer aleh Elisha. So Elisha says to her, Ma esalach, what can I do for you? How can I help you? What can I do? Hagidi limal yesh lach babayis. Tell me, what do you have in the house? What is left in the house? Vatomer eile shivchascha kchol babayis ki im osuch shamen. So she answers that your maidservant has nothing in the house except for one jar of oil, a cruse of oil. That's all I've got. So he says to her, he said, go borrow vessels for yourself from outside, from all of your neighbors. Kelim reikim al tamiti, empty vessels. Do not be sparing. Don't hold back. Go and get as many empty vessels as you can from your neighbors. Then come home, close the door behind you and your children. Al kol hakelim ha'ele, and pour the oil into all these vessels. And once it's full, put it on the side. So Elisha says to her, how can I help you? What do you have in the house? She says, I've got one jar of oil. That's all I've got left. So he says, fine. Go to your neighbors. Borrow as many empty vessels as you can. Don't stop. Just as many as you can. Empty vessels. Bring them home. Close the door. And the one jar of oil you have, start pouring that oil into the empty vessels. And as one fills up, just put it on the side. That's what he tells her to do. So she went. She closed the door behind her, and her children. They, the sons, would hand her the empty vessels. She would pour the oil into the empty vessels. So they did what do you call it? Production line. Where they were pouring, where they were passing, she was pouring. Then they'd remove it and pass another one. And she filled up all the vessels that they brought. So once she'd filled them all, so then she said to her son, pass me another empty vessel. And they said, there's no vessels left. And the oil stopped pouring. So she went back now to tell the man of God, Elisha, the prophet, and told him, this is what happened. I had this one jar of oil. I borrowed as many empty vessels as I could, and that jar of oil filled all the empty vessels. Now I've got a house full of oil. So he says, "V'yomer l'chi michriyas hashemen." So go sell the oil. V'shalmis nishyech, pay off your debts, pay your creditor. V'atu b'nayich tichi b'noisar, and you and your sons can live off the remainder, what's left. In other words, you now have enough from this oil that you sell. You'll have enough money to pay back the debts of your late husband, and there'll be left over, which you can live off. You and your sons can live off the remainder. And there ends the story as far as we're concerned. So what happened? This miracle happened, that this little jar of oil was able to fill all these other jars of oil. A bit familiar, yeah? One jar of oil left. Mm-hmm. So that was the miracle that Elisha performed to save this woman, this widow, from her sons being taken from her.
It doesn't actually say how he did this.
Yeah, he just told her to do it.
Yeah.
No.
Like bless her, he didn't like.
No, he just did it. Just told her to do it, and she did it.
Yeah.
They say about the Baba Sali. You know the Baba Sali, the Moroccan tzaddik. He's on the picture. His picture's up in every falafel store in Israel.
Yeah.
With the white shrouds and the white beard. He was the great leader in the Sephardi world. He was very big in the whole world. He was considered a very big tzaddik. He used to every Friday night have a huge table of guests, and they say about him that he would have a bottle of arak. You know, arak is very strong aniseed liquor, and the bottle was wrapped in a bag. Excuse me.
Yes.
He would pour l'chaim for people. Go around the table, pour l'chaim. And then when he finished, he kept pouring and pouring and pouring, and the bottle never finished. He just kept pouring. It was covered.
Everything never finishes.
True.
I don't think that's true.
Anyway, so this was the miracle that Elisha did. So what's this story? It's an amazing story. It's a story of a totally supernatural event and a miracle of this woman. She only has this one jar of oil left, and Elisha says, just take empty vessels and fill them all up. And that's what happened. And she and her children can live off the remainder. They can retire. It's an amazing story. But of course, the fact that this story is recorded in Tanakh, and the fact that we read it every year as Haftarah, must mean that this story is more than just an amazing story of once upon a time. This story must have an eternal relevance. There must be a lesson, a practical instruction that can come out of this story, something that is relevant to us. We who don't really do these miracles can somehow live with this story. And that's what Chassidus brings, is it brings such a story to life. How does it apply to me? How is this story personal? So it was the Alter Rebbe who picked up this story and explained it. Explained it in an unbelievable way. And that we're going to see at the beginning of this maamar of the Rebbe, based on the maamar of the Alter Rebbe. So let's go over to the maamar now. So the maamar starts. Veisha Achas It starts with the quote that we just read, that one woman, literally one woman, or a certain woman, from the wives of the children or the students of the prophets, cried out to Elisha. It's known the maamar of the Alter Rebbe on this pasuk. The Isha hi neshama. The Alter Rebbe says that this is a symbolic story. It happened, literally, but it also has a symbolism to it, and that is this. That Isha, the woman, represents the neshama, the divine soul. Why does the woman represent the divine soul? Because throughout Torah, the male-female relationship is a metaphor for the relationship between Hashem and the Jewish soul, the divine soul. Starting with Shir Hashirim, the Song of Songs, which is a love story about a man and a woman, the man represents Hashem and the woman represents the Jewish soul. So, even though that's one particular book of Tanakh, Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, written by King Solomon, but Chassidus always understood that that metaphor permeates the entire Torah. Anywhere in Torah where there's a discussion of a man and a woman, of a husband and a wife, it's talking about Hashem and the Jewish people as well. Hmm? Yeah, the symbolism
the
of them.
whole story of the snake has that symbolism.
Yeah, every story has that as well.
So then does it mean Hashem's the dead husband?
Oh, we'll see. Yep,
What?
we'll see. In what way?
If Hashem is the husband, then is he the dead husband?
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
What do you mean dead?
Is the husband
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
We're just
Okay.
so Isha. The Isha is the neshama. The nefesh is the divine soul. Now, in this pasuk, it's the woman is described as Veisha Achas, one woman, which is not very helpful. What do we mean, one woman? A woman, Isha. Just let's say Isha. Why is that Veisha Achas? One woman. So, v'nikra Veisha Achas, the Alter Rebbe explained that Veisha Achas, one woman, she's called that ki hi achas imavaya, because the divine soul is one with God. The divine soul is one with God. So Veisha Achas, one woman, means the soul that is one. The soul that experiences oneness. The soul that is unified with Hashem. That's why it's called Veisha Achas.
Sorry, one woman means one soul.
Means the soul that is one with Hashem.
The part of the soul.
The divine soul, which is defined as being one with Hashem. That the nature of the divine soul is that it is one with Hashem. It is synonymous with Hashem. It's one thing. The divine soul is not just divine is not an adjective that describes it. It's got divine. It is divine. It is a piece of Hashem. It's one with Hashem.
Sorry, to I don't see how you get from one woman to the soul that is one with Hashem.
Isha means the soul.
Yes.
Achas, of oneness. The soul of oneness.
Right.
Further, this soul is described in the pasuk as Menashe b'nei Hanavim, a wife of one of the students of the prophets. And historically, this woman was the wife of Avadia. Avadia was one of the prophets. But here, if this Veisha Achas, the soul of oneness, the soul that is one with Hashem, is described as the wife of the student of the prophets, what does that mean? Ki Nevi'im eloshen nivs v'soyim. Because a Navi, prophet, the word prophet in Hebrew, Nevi'im, comes from the word nivs v'soyim. Niv means the expression of the lips. The power of a prophet is that he's able to express the divine message, the word of Hashem. Meaning that the word of Hashem, the expression of the lip of Hashem, as it were, is received by a prophet. That's why prophets are called Nevi'im. The word Navi means that one who receives expression from Hashem, the word of Hashem, and is able to share that expression. So here, in our case, this one woman who's described as the wife of the prophet is because the neshama is also, like a prophet, a receptacle that is able to tune in to divine messages. And Gilui Lukus, a revelation of God. Meaning, what is a prophet? A prophet really, why are they different to anybody else? Why is a prophet unique? Why are some people prophets and others not? What's the prophet got that the other people don't have?
Nevuah. Like
Bitter.
Which is nothing, right? Bittul is a not being. It's not that a prophet has a different sense than you have, a sixth sense that you don't have. A prophet has the same faculties as you have. The difference is the prophet's soul faculties are not being blocked by their bodily faculties. The Prophet has reached a level of refinement, of elevation, where their physical presence is not an obstacle to their soul's awareness. And so the neshama, which all neshamas, yours and mine and of the Prophet, all neshamas are aware of Hashem constantly, can hear the voice of Hashem. Just because some people, their neshama's awareness is not their primary awareness, so we don't hear the voice of Hashem speaking to us. Whereas other people have refined themselves, have got rid of the lowly, coarse, egotistical, physical, material part of themselves, to the point where the voice of the soul, Hashem's voice speaking to the soul, is clear to them. They can hear it. So really, every neshama is a prophet.
I thought this generation wasn't capable of Nebuah.
On the whole. But individual prophecy is possible. And the neshama is capable of anything. We're not in an era of prophecy, like in the times of Veisha Achas. Prophecy was what people did. People didn't sit and learn like we do as an intellectual pursuit. People tried to reach prophecy. That was the spiritual pursuit. Today, that's not our main focus. But the possibility of prophecy is there. But anyway, here it's saying that the neshama, every neshama is a prophet. Receives prophecy, is in tune with the divine will. That's what a nefesh elikis is. That's what your divine soul is. One with Hashem and in tune with Hashem. Knows Hashem. Your neshama doesn't need to be convinced about God's existence. Your neshama sees Hashem, is in touch all the time. So Veisha Achas, the woman who is one, meaning the soul that is one with Hashem, a wife of the Prophet, meaning one that receives prophecy, the level of the soul that receives the divine message. This is who we're talking about here in this little episode. So she comes crying to Elisha. The soul, the divine soul, which is one with Hashem, which is a receptacle to the divine revelation, comes crying to Elisha. So who's Elisha in the story then? If the woman is the divine soul, who's Elisha? So it's the middle of the fourth line. Elisha, Isis, Elisha. Elisha, the word Elisha, the name Elisha, can be divided into two phrases. Elisha, which means my God who turns.
Who what?
Who turns. Who, Elisha turns or responds. Turns towards me.
How do you know it's towards?
Well, to turn. Who turns means to respond, to react.
You could be turning away though.
No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean turn away. It means to turn around, to turn towards. And that's referring to Hashem. Elisha, my God who responds, is referring to Hashem. The woman crying before Elisha is the divine soul crying before Hashem.
Just the fact that Elisha's a prophet, throw a spanner, or?
He's not called a prophet here. It's just called Elisha. So what does the soul cry before Hashem? What is the cry that the soul cries before Hashem? Veisha Achas Elisha. This is what it means. That this woman cries to Elisha. The neshama cries out to Hashem and says, Avdecha ishi meis. Your servant, my husband, is dead. Ishi, the fact that she refers to him as Ishi, my man, my husband, who Eish Yud, that is the fire of Yud. Ishi is Eish, fire with the Yud in it. Meaning, Da'ava kirish be'eisha haya etzli likalov libatal b'chines Yud chachma ilah meis. What the neshama is saying is that the love that burns like a passionate fire, that I once had, a yearning, a burning fiery love to lose myself and nullify myself in the Yud of Chachma Ilah, in the point of creation, the beginning of creation, the godly source of creation, that fire that I used to have, a burning fire, a desire, a yearning to lose myself in godliness, in the Yud, in the Yud of Hashem's name, Mace is dead. Sha'achshav ein li avazu. I don't have this love anymore. I've lost it. So in other words, the soul is crying out to Hashem and saying, I used to have a desire to lose myself in Hashem. My entire focus, my entire feeling, my whole ambition was to just be one with Hashem. That was the stance of my soul. I've lost it. I don't have the love anymore. I'm uninspired. I'm flat. I don't have that yearning. I'm distracted by other things.
But the fact that the neshama is calling out shows that it does have that.
No, I don't have it. I don't have that love anymore. It doesn't interest me anymore.
But if you didn't have the love anymore, you wouldn't care enough to cry out.
Caring and loving is two different things. An awareness that I don't have the love. I don't have the love. The fact is that I've lost my love.
I know, but you would be apathetic if you didn't have any love.
It's lost the level of love.
No. I have an intellectual awareness that what I should be doing. I just don't feel it.
I don't understand how the soul can not have that love. If the soul is always aware of Hashem and I don't
Obviously
know,
not.
how does that happen? Like your actual soul. Like I understand that the goof can block that and there's clipper and it's not always so revealed. But your soul, the neshama, is a very revealed part of Hashem.
It's not always revealed. That's the thing. The soul has experienced a change. Before the soul came into this world, so then it was free to express its love, and there was no blockage to it. So it loved Hashem and wanted to be with Hashem, and that's all it was. After the neshama came into this world, into a body, it's disconnected from its source, and so it's not always free to express itself, and it can therefore lose momentum. The fire can become somewhat extinguished, not completely blotted out, not destroyed, but love is a conscious feeling. We're not talking here that deep down in my soul I recognize it. We're talking about feeling a love of Hashem. I don't feel it. I'm not inspired. Have you ever been uninspired?
Yeah.
But you have a divine soul.
But that's
that's not a lack of
that's
love.
not my soul. That's my other.
But it's you.
Or something.
No, it's you. I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about part. I'm talking you.
Okay,
Are
fine.
you ever inspired or uninspired? You have a soul, so how can you be uninspired? The love of the soul has been extinguished. It's not burning. Why? Because there are other things that distract it, which we'll talk about in a minute.
I miss the whole how my husband became fire.
Because the word that was used here is ishi. Ishi means aish with a yud in it, which is the burning, passionate love for to lose yourself in godliness.
So fire equals the love.
Yeah,
So
fire is an
husband
upward
is like
surge.
the love?
Like fire surges upwards to lose it, like a flame wants to jump off the wick. So too the soul has a fire, a flame that wants to extinguish itself, wants to lose itself in godliness, and that the soul is saying, I've lost it. This is the soul saying, I'm going through a time where I'm numb. My soul is not impacting my life. I don't feel the love. I don't feel the yearning. I'm flat.
So I didn't have a question, but now I do. How does that happen to the soul? Because we always learn.
Because you're in this body and you yourself don't get inspired some days and you don't
That's
want
me
to
as a.
That's
as
what
a
I was
fusion.
saying as well.
I agree with you.
I agree with
You can't.
Because we're talking about a fusion of goof and
If you're
soul, so
talking
then I
about,
would
the
understand
purest,
that you
in
lose it. But if
neshama,
it's just a show, you've spent 5 moments convincing me that the soul is the most purest, hardest thing to disconnect from anything blind.
Right.
Any.
So we'll see. Disconnect is one thing. We're talking about love. Love is an emotion. It's a feeling. It's not. It's not a state of being. It's a feeling of something.
So how do you have an emotion
can
to
you-
the soul?
Sorry?
How do you have like if you've got two boxes, one guf, one neshama, where does emotion fit?
Both the animal soul and the divine soul have emotion. They each have emotion.
Okay, so every emotion connected then to the soul, we're going to be of the most purest, untainted.
If there is emotion, what if there's no emotion? What if it's extinguished? What if it's not feeling anything?
So the lack of it would mean lack of perfection, therefore it couldn't be connected to the soul.
The lack of it, which is
Connection is a different
clipper.
thing. We'll see. If you hold it a little bit, it will be clearer. It'll become clearer, the various levels here.
What was Elisha again?
My God who turns to me, who responds. So the soul's calling out to God who reacts, who responds to my call.
This is going to link back to the oil and the beard.
Yeah, no, not that bit. Some of the oil bit,
I
yeah.
missed that. I missed the
That's
whole
hilarious.
explanation.
Is there any small copies by the chance?
Yeah.
There's should be plenty around, no?
That's one, isn't it?
That's
It's just a nubby.
Does what we do with our physical self have impact? It definitely does have impact on our soul. We learn that,
Yeah.
obviously. So could it be that the love can be extinguished because of our physical?
body and yeah, absolutely. So that's what the soul is saying. If I'd be in heaven, so then my love would be unimpinged. It would be free to be expressed. I'm in a body, and in this body, I've lost the love.
Is that due to lack of mitzvahs with the body, or can it just be?
Just being in a body. So this is what the soul is complaining to God. I've lost the love. My burning desire to lose myself in godliness is not there. Don't have it. And not only that, but as a result of losing my momentum, of my love, now the creditor has come to take my two sons for himself as slaves. So who's the creditor? Vanosha, the first one on the line is Vanosha, that's what we're up to, Vahanosha. Vanosha Maloshin Kinashan Elikim. The word Nosha, meaning creditor, comes from the word Nashani. Nashani Elikim, which means I've been made to forget. The one who makes me forget. Nosha is the one who causes forgetfulness. The name Menashe, Yosef gave his son the name Menashe because Hashem has made me forget all of my pain and suffering. Menashe comes from forgetting. Nosha, which means the creditor, could also be translated as the one who makes you forget. So who's the one who makes you forget? Who's the creditor? Who's the one who makes you forget?
Right?
Koyal nefesh bahamis. That's the animal soul. Shemashkachas oisim elokus. The whole job of the animal soul is to make me forget about godliness. Forget where I come from.
Is the animal soul and the Yetzer Hara the same thing?
No.
Not exactly the same thing. The Yetzer Hara is a feature of the animal soul. Is the lower part of the animal soul. So the very definition of the animal soul is the one who makes you forget. All the animal soul needs to do to be successful is just make you forget who you are, forget where you come from. As long as you're aware of your godly source, of your divine source, so then there's no chance that you're going to do anything other than Hashem's will. As long as you're aware of that, as long as that's at the forefront of your mind, is who you are and where you come from and what your mission is, so then the animal soul has no chance of distracting you from that. But as soon as you forget that a little bit, forget means, as soon as it's not on the forefront of your mind, and you start to think that I'm just a being of this world, and I've got other things to do other than the divine mission, as soon as you forget it a little bit, so then the animal soul has you, has captured you. So the creditor has come means that the animal soul is the one who is stepping into the void. That why have I forgotten Hashem? Why have I lost my loving feeling? Because there's a force, the animal soul, that has come to interrupt, to make me forget who I am.
So when did the creditor become the animal soul? Like why? What's the...
The word for creditor is Veisha, Noisha, which means one who makes you forget. Could be translated in that way as well.
Right, got it.
So the soul says that I've forgotten, I've been made to forget who I am. I've lost my identity. And not only that, the animal soul is not satisfied with making me forget who I am, weakening my identity and therefore making me become more animalistic. But also it said that the creditor is demanding to take my 2 sons as slaves to him. Who are the 2 sons? Ushnei Yeladei hem av v'yira. The 2 sons are the emotions, love and awe. Why love and awe or fear? Why are they defined as being sons?
Aren't they opposite?
No. They're always fighting.
No, isn't that what Tanya explained?
Like,
Like
don't
they
we
come
say
under
our
the shadow.
father,
Isn't
my
all
father, my
relationships
king, or
got
whatever?
something to do with love and awe in any type
The
of
2 ways
relationship?
you're supposed to serve Hashem.
Yeah, but so why are they called children?
Because they're born out of the shadow.
So the square brackets explains it. K'mvur b'Tanya. It's explained in the beginning of Tanya. Shamidus nikraim b'Shem told us. Emotions are described as children because they are born from Chachma and Bina, from intellect. Chachma and Bina are called father and mother. Ava and Yira are called the children. That any emotion, any emotional reaction, any feeling towards anything has to first start with an intellectual awareness of that thing. Your mind has to know about it, have an opinion of it, and from there comes an emotional reaction. You either want to be close to it, which is called love, or you want to hold back from it, which is called fear. Or you can't have an emotional reaction to something that you don't know about, that you're not aware of.
Well, it's not true. What about on a Chagim when you don't know why you're all euphoric?
You don't know why.
Yeah, but you're euphoric. You don't know why. You just happen to go to shul that day. You don't know. What do you know about it?
But you're not asleep. You're not unaware.
But you're conscious.
So there must be a consciousness, an awareness of something that is causing a
It's just
feeling.
consciousness. It's not knowledge. It's different.
Well, people often emotionally react to something they didn't understand
Yeah.
yet. that happens all the time. People disagree with something before they've even understood it. That's an emotional reaction. Like, I don't like this. One sec. Did you think about what we're talking about yet? Do you know what's going on here?
Did you taste it?
Or did you just have a reflex reaction? Okay, that's an immature emotion. But it's still, there's some awareness. It went into your mind. Didn't spend too long there. It went straight to a reaction. That happens. But you have to first. There has to be some process. Your mind is aware of something, and you then react to it emotionally.
And the absence of emotion is like not awareness. Like, what about those people who intellectualize and don't go further than that? Like,
So that's possible. There's a bridge between intellect and emotion that is not always crossed.
right.
It's not an automatic process. So there are some people who get stuck in intellect. There's some people who pass through intellect and go straight to emotion. So they emotionally react to everything without having thought it through. There are some people who emotionally react to nothing because they're just stuck in the theory of it. They don't take it personally. Sometimes that'll be good, sometimes the other will be good. Most of the time, the best thing is to allow something to sink into the mind first, to hold off on emotion, not rush into emotion. Make sure you get it clear, and then the emotion will be directed correctly.
I don't know, that seems opposite. Like emotion is like raw and passionate. How can it be like clear and focused?
It can't be, but it can be directed correctly.
Okay.
In other words, yeah, emotion is very passionate. So therefore, emotion better not decide where
Right.
to love. Intellect has to do that.
Okay.
What to love and what to be fearful of, what to have awe from. The mind has to determine what's appropriate to love and what's not. And then let the emotions run free.
Okay.
Somebody who doesn't do that is somebody who ends up loving the wrong things and the wrong people all the time. Getting emotionally involved with the wrong thing because it wasn't thought through. It didn't make any sense. But it's too late now because you're emotionally involved. So you're entangled in it and you can't get out of it. Whereas if you first allow the intellect to analyze this carefully and say, is this appropriate? My feelings are pushing me this way, but does it actually make sense? Is this going the right way? Intellect can look at it from a removed perspective. And if intellect concludes after a careful analysis, yes, this is what I should love, then let the emotions run wild and that'll be great. Because it's directed correctly.
Sorry, with love and awe, did you say that we have to understand it to have an emotion towards it?
Not understand it, you have to have an awareness of it. You have to know that it exists. And have an opinion about it. Why do you love it? Because you think it's good. Why are you in awe, or why do you fear this thing? Because you think it's dangerous.
And what happens when you've got an emotional reaction to something that you don't know what your opinion is of it?
So then you can use intellect to analyze.
Right.
But you're aware of it. The point is that you're aware of it first. On some level. Mm-hmm.
When we said Ishir, we were talking about the love of God, right? Because the fire was the love. So now...
This is a different level of love. There's a love that, what's described above, the Ishi love, is a love that is a totally selfless love. It's a love that where you want to lose yourself in God. It's not that I want to fulfill myself. I want to lose myself in God. That's a higher type of love. Here we're talking about the normal type of love, which is that I want to expand myself by including you. I want to reach out to you. That's a different. It's a lower form, a more familiar form of love. So the two sons that the creditor is trying to take away as slaves are the emotions of love and fear. Those two emotions specifically, there are more than two emotions in our heart, but those two mainly because Shnei Midas Hem Avir. The Ikri Midas Hem Avir, because the main primary emotions are love and fear. All other emotions are subsets of that. All emotions are either something that draws you close or holds you back. Makes you want to approach something or makes you want to avoid something.
Can you give us an example of like one, like humility? Or something like that? How is that a subset of?
So, well, in Kabbalistic terms like Netzach and Hoid,
It's a good one.
Netzach means the drive to overcome. That's a subset of chesed, of love, because it's an expressive thing, that you will overcome no matter what. Hoid is humility, that's holding back, which is a subset of fear. To be humble means to hold yourself back, to not express.
Would you say they're opposites? Direct opposites?
Ava and Yira? Yeah.
But the amazingness of the human is that they can express both almost simultaneously.
In the Medrash it says that only in our relationship with Hashem can you express both simultaneously. To a physical thing, you're either going to have love or fear.
Parents, almost both.
at any one time,
Oh, only at one point. in time.
you're either going to be feeling a love and closeness or an
But
awe.
it can
and
change
respect.
both with it.
Yeah, could switch.
But we go and go both at once.
You can have both at once.
I thought the nature of emotion though was that it does ebb and flow. It's very, like it's not constant. So the fact that love and awe would kind of dissipate is not.
Well, it depends. It depends how much intellect it's based on, or how solid the intellect that emotion is based on.
What do you mean?
If an emotion is a fickle emotion, is one that's based on very little intellectual backing,
Okay.
so then you're right. Emotion itself is fickle, and it has nothing to fall back on, so it'll be fleeting. It'll be a feeling that comes and goes. Whereas if it's based on a solid argument, on a rational, well thought out perspective, so then that emotion has something to fall back on. So the fickleness of the emotion will still be there. That's what emotion is, but it'll be it has fuel to it can be replenished because it's backed by something, backed by intellect. So what does it mean that the creditor is coming to demand my 2 sons as slaves? So after the brackets, the square brackets, that's what it means, that the creditor is demanding my 2 sons as slaves. The creditor, again, is the one who makes me forget, the Nefesh Bahamis. The Nefesh Bahamis is demanding my 2 sons, which are my emotions of love and fear. La'av zoris ul yirazoris. The animal soul wants to misappropriate my love and my fear, that I should love foreign and strange things, and I should have awe and respect and fear for things that I shouldn't be.
Why?
It's its task.
No, it's a host task.
That's the Nefesh Bahamis is.
So what's the
Yeah, so it's
difference
not-
of being in this world and revealing the goodness within this world and that opposite spectrum of losing, do you get what I'm saying? Of losing your divine task
Oh, so
and being distracted by.
we'll
other things.
see that in a second. That's in the brackets, the next brackets. So again, the animal soul is trying to make you forget who you are, forget your divine source. Because once you've forgotten your divine source, then you'll be distracted and you'll be able to follow material and worldly things, forgetting about what you're here to do. But more than that, the animal soul wants to take your 2 sons and make them his slaves. Meaning taking the love and the fear of the divine soul and making it slaves of the animal soul. What does that mean? Brackets. In addition to the fact that the animal soul is trying to make me forget godliness and wants to nullify, God forbid, the love and the fear that I have for God, it wants to extinguish them, but that's not enough. He writes, the animal soul wants to take the love and fear of the divine soul and redirect those emotions to the animal soul. Again, it's not enough that you should not love God and not fear God. That's not enough for the animal soul. That's making you forget. That's step number 1. But that is just the beginning. The real intent of the animal soul is that the love and the fear that your divine soul has for Hashem should be redirected for its purposes, for animalistic, worldly purposes.
But you're saying that the divine soul lost its love that it had for God, so why would the Nefesh Bahamis bother?
Because it wants more than that. It doesn't want you just to lose the positive. It wants that to go into negative. It wants that love that was there, the power of love that you had for Hashem, should be redirected to a love for worldly things. What this means is that the animal soul has 2 layers of attack. One is to just get you to be involved with material things, physical things, and to chase after pleasure, hedonistic pleasure. Instead of chasing after divine purpose, your mission, goodness, morality, instead of being involved with all that stuff, you should be involved with material stuff. You should forget your mission. That's number 1. But more insidious than that is that the animal soul actually wants to take your moral energy your divine sense of purpose and change that around into something that is really animalistic. Meaning, not enough that you should just be hedonistic and seek pleasure and have fun. You should make a religion out of it. You should become. You should have a whole philosophy around that. This should become your divine soul's energies should be turned towards the animal soul's purposes and desires. So you make a whole philosophy, a whole religion, a whole justification around animalistic things.
Is it possible that we do both at the same time? Or are we only stuck in one way? That would mean that most of us are stuck.
We're constantly,
We are constantly
yeah, animal soul,
moving
divine
through
soul,
the-
yeah, absolutely. So, did you understand the point? That this is something, you see it all the time. It's not enough that people are materialistic, worldly, this worldly or selfish. It's not enough that, or that they deny the godly and the divine thing. You make a crusade out of it.
It's so obvious how meaningless that is. Like how superficial that existence
To
is.
you.
But we do that all the time.
So obvious.
Right now.
It's obvious when you're learning a maamar.
Think about it.
I don't know.
But there's, it's not like,
Think of
could
all
be
the
in small
causes.
ways, like, can be, could be for any like
But,
small
like-
action even.
Think about all the causes,
Like obsessing
the
about
big
things.
causes that people give their whole lives to, that are really just animalistic. They're not even really serving a higher purpose.
Animal rights,
Socialism, communism.
politics.
And if we learn, like we learn Torah and like if we learn Torah on an intellectual pursuit level, are we then giving over all our Torah learning to our Yetzirah?
No, Torah saves you from the Yetzer Hara, but
Because like the chasing after knowledge is very much a Western.
the animal soul can misappropriate that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And in other words, you have people who have very this worldly philosophies, but they can back it up with quotes from Torah. They can find you all the Torah sources to support what they're saying.
No, but just like
It's
you
not
don't
really
have
coming from Torah.
intellectual pleasure.
It's the animal soul going so deeply within you, being so sneaky, that it says, okay, I know that if I quote you Karl Marx, that's not going to inspire you. But if I quote you the Gemara, then you're going to be impressed. So you take a totally this worldly philosophy, but you back it up with Torah quotes, and so now the animal soul has totally turned around. It has made it holy, has sanctified the whole thing. That's really where the animal soul is much sneakier.
So what do you feel about that?
I don't understand that. I don't, because like we all have Jewish souls, and like I don't know. I've always had this idea that Jews strive for truth. They strive for emes. They strive for something above. That's why even non-religious Jews like go beyond the limits and try and push.
But if you don't know where truth is, or how to find truth, or how to recognize truth, so then that striving can very easily be hijacked. And that's why all of the great philosophies, not all of them, many of them were founded by Jews seeking for truth, like Karl Marx, who we just mentioned.
Right.
It's this, looking for utopia and everything, but being totally misinformed. So, but we don't have to talk about Karl Marx. We can talk about ourselves. That we can get very caught up in things, and
Okay,
it's
but
the
you do
energy of our
something
divine
that
soul.
You know it's not how you would like to do things. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sometimes you
That's
realize, sometimes you don't
you
realize.
know better. A lot of people don't know better. They've never learned. They don't know. So when they see something that they think, oh, this is above me. This is, wow. And it could be not Hashem.
You know how people justify things to themselves? Like, this was really
Yeah, of
right
course.
because I was experiencing this, or, like, it's just like that on a very lower level.
When Jews go and practice other religions, they're finding a misappropriation of truth, and they serve that as opposed to serving their truth, and they become high in them.
So let's just recap. Let's just recap and see if it's clear. The soul is coming for Hashem with a plea, with a cry, that I used to have a burning love to lose myself in godliness. That's the nature of the divine soul. I've lost it. It's dead. My husband is dead. The fire is dead. It's gone out. Why? Because I've got this creditor, which is the Nefesh Bahamis, that makes me forget, that has caused me to forget my source. I'm not aware. I'm not consciously aware. I'm not living according to the being that I really am. I'm not being true to myself. It's made me forget. Not only that, but this animal soul is trying to take my emotions and misappropriate them, redirect them to its purposes.
Isn't that like a bit of like victimization kind of situation?
No, with personal responsibility.
What do you mean?
As in, the Nefesh Bahamis is doing this to me, blah, 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 it's making me forget. It's like, there's no kind of acknowledgement that you have the opportunity to listen to the Nefesh
Well, no.
Bahamis.
That's why
Well,
deprive
it's
the
calling
soul.
out to Hashem. It's saying, I want to do something about this. I need help.
I know, but it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like Nefesh Bahamis is doing this
It's not
to me.
kvetching. There's not kvetching.
Okay.
There's not just complaining.
Yeah.
This is saying, I'm exhausted. I'm broke. I have nothing to offer. I've lost it. I've lost the feeling. What do I do next? So what is the answer that Elisha offers? What does God say back to the soul? V'yomer le'Elisha. So Elisha says to her, "Ma yesh lach babayis." What do you have left in the house? Meaning, "Eze koiches nishur lach she'ein lenefesh bahamis shlita aleim." What faculties do remain? What do you have left that the animal soul has not yet taken over? What territory still remains yours? What do you have left in your soul, in your personality, that has not been hijacked yet by the animal soul? What's left? Is there anything left? What do you have left in the house?
What does the house represent?
Yourself, your faculties,
It's like
Your-
nothing
in your
in
being.
itself.
V'tomer, so she says back, "Ein l'shiv chasech." I have nothing left. Ki mosach shemen, but just one jar of oil. Meaning, shloi nisher etzla shum davar milvad etzem nekudas haneshama. I have nothing left that the animal soul has not taken, except for the very essence of the soul. Oil represents essence. The very depth of the soul, that's all I have left. Meaning, my emotions are captured and lost. My intellect is confused and all over the place. My drive, my will, all of this, I've lost it all. I have no inspiration, nothing going. All I have is the essence of the soul. My soul is still mine. I'm still Jewish. That I know. But that's it. I've got none of my conscious faculties are mine anymore. The animal soul has completely taken over, and the divine soul has no dominion whatsoever. All the divine soul has left is the essence, the core of the soul that is unbreakable, that can never be extinguished, never can be corrupted. I'm Jewish. I know I'm Jewish.
Sorry, is it that same core that we were talking about in the beginning with that selfless love, the love that's been extinguished in that level?
No, love is an emotion.
Right. So it's
That's
outside of
a
that.
projection, an expression of the soul. He was saying the soul itself, the essence of the soul is still there.
Okay.
I still know that I'm Jewish,
Right.
but that's it. I have nothing else left. Brackets V'yeshloimer, the shemen hu chachma. You could explain this, that oil represents chachma, the level of chachma. V'asach shemen hu b'chinas hachachma shebenefesh. So a jar of oil represents the level of chachma in the soul. She'ein nefesh b'hamis shlita aleh, which that's the level of the soul that the animal soul cannot reach, cannot compete with, can't hijack or take control over. Chachma, we usually understand chachma as being wisdom, a level of intellect. But Tanya explains that no, chachma is really that which is beyond intellect, that which we know because we just know it. It's not a conscious mind, chachma. It's higher than that. It's the level of awareness of self and of who you are that is beyond the intellectual discussion. It can't be debated. And so chachma shebenefesh in Tanya is explained as being that level of the soul that is indestructible, that cannot be corrupted and taken away from you. And that's why it's called oil. Oil floats above all other liquids. It's aloof and beyond. It doesn't mix into other things. It remains as it is.
What's that level called? Chachma what?
Chachma shebenefesh. So, third last line. V'yomer, so Elisha says to her, okay, so you got oil left? That's all you got left? L'chi shali lach kelim min chutz. Go and borrow containers, vessels, from outside, from your neighbors. Kelim reikim al tamiti. Don't hold back as many empty vessels as you can. What does that mean? Shetasik b'torah v'mitzvahs. Go and do as many mitzvahs as you can. Learn as much Torah as you can. Why are these vessels Torah? Shehem kelim le'oravai, because every mitzvah you do is a container, is a receptacle for divine light. Every Torah that you learn, piece of Torah that you learn, is a receptacle. It's a container that draws down divine light. So go out and get as many containers as you can. Means do as much mitzvahs as you can. Learn as much Torah as you can. Even though the Torah and mitzvahs that you're busy with at this level, at this stage in your life, are going to be empty vessels. B'li aviyira, they're going to be devoid of any love, any fear, any emotional content. You're not doing it with inspiration. You have no drive to do this. There's no feeling behind it. It's an empty mitzvah. You're doing it without feeling. It's devoid of any emotion. It's an empty vessel. Mikol Mokum, nevertheless, over the page, Al Tamiti Behem. Don't hold back. Do as much as you can. Empty mitzvahs. Do mitzvahs that you're not in the mood of, that you don't understand why you're doing it. You don't feel like doing it. You have no inspiration whatsoever, no drive to do it. Just do it anyway, as much as you can. Yotzakta al kol ha'kelim ha'ela, and you should pour oil into those vessels. Meaning, you should reveal the essence of your soul in those mitzvahs. But when you're doing mitzvahs that are empty mitzvahs, you're not inspired to do it. So why are you doing it then? Because you're Jewish, and a Jewish person does mitzvahs. Just like you wouldn't be willing to give up your Jewishness, even if you were threatened, so too, you shouldn't be willing to not do a mitzvah, no matter what. Because every mitzvah is an expression of your Jewishness, is your connection to Hashem, which is what your soul is. So your mind is not convinced and doesn't understand why it needs to do the mitzvahs. Your heart is not inspired, it doesn't feel like doing the mitzvahs. But your soul knows that mitzvahs is what you got to do. That's who you are. So do a mitzvah, but do it not because your heart is pushing you to do it, not because your mind has convinced you to do it, but because your soul just needs to, just naturally does it.
And that's pouring your soul into it?
That's pouring the oil into the empty vessels.
Right.
I don't get the pouring, but I'm missing I get the mitzvahs.
Because it's not done with it.
It's empty because there's no emotion. There's no understanding. But Elisha said, take all these empty vessels and pour oil into the empty vessels. Meaning that the way you do these mitzvahs, where is the drive to do the mitzvah coming from? If you're not inspired, if you're not in the mood, if you don't understand it, so then what should you do the mitzvah with? What are you filling the mitzvah with? It's an expression of the essence of your soul. I'm Jewish, and a Jewish person does mitzvahs. That's it.
So you don't have to love the mitzvah or...
You don't have any love.
have to do
You're
it.
empty of love. Just do it.
But it's not all
But
mitzvahs.
why are you doing it? Because you're Jewish, and that's what a Jewish person does. It couldn't be any other way.
It just sounds really sad to a certain level.
Sorry?
I mean, how does that, in practicality, how do you not become a robot or whatever? And
No, this is not a
someone
robot.
actually asks you why you're doing what you're doing, and you're like, I have no idea why. I cannot tell you why.
So what's higher? Doing something because your heart tells you you're in the mood? Doing something because somebody's convinced you should? Or doing something because the essence of your soul says, this is what I am, this is my identity. It couldn't be any other way. What's better? What's deeper?
Yeah, but someone else is
Is
telling
it
you that.
is it deeper? No, no.
Doing it not because you feel it, just because.
Is doing your moods, as you said earlier, emotions are fickle. So I'm in the mood of doing something, I do it. Is that profound? Somebody's convinced me I should do it. They've proven me that I have to do it, so I do it. Is that an expression of self? Or is it that here's something that I'm not in the mood of doing, I don't understand why I'm doing it, and I do it because the essence of my soul says that this is what you've got to do? What's more you than that? When are you being more yourself than that?
I don't think that it always manifests like that. Like when you do a mitzvah because you're choosing to do it because your mood says you should or because your intellect says you should, and then it feels good. That's one level. And then the mitzvah that you do and it doesn't feel good, but you know you're doing it because you're a Jew.
Yeah.
That's great, and it might be a higher level, but it might not be self-perpetuating. Or even if it is self-perpetuating, the love might not grow back.
You have to remember, we're still in the middle of Alicia's response. We haven't even finished. We've done one line, right? So this is step number one, and with this we'll conclude tonight. That you are uninspired. You've lost your love. You're feeling flat. Your soul is numb. So you call out to Hashem and say, "What am I supposed to do? I'm not inspired. I know I'm Jewish. That I still know. I know what I should be feeling, but I don't feel it. I know where I should be, but I'm not there. So I have no drive. I'm simply not in the mood. I get up in the morning. I don't want to daven. It just, I have no desire whatsoever to open the siddur and to daven. So what am I supposed to do?" So your answer was I should wait until the inspiration comes back, or I lost it and so I lost it. I should go on to some other pursuit. No, that's the animal soul trying to grab you and pull you into some other thing. And the emptiness, the void of your lack of inspiration is not going to stay empty very long. The animal soul is going to come in and say, "You know what, Yiddishkeit didn't work. There are other great causes that you could sign up for. Yiddishkeit inspired you for a while. You're not inspired now. So there are other things that you could be very inspired for. Do you know how many great, wonderful causes there are out there? So the animal soul is going to try and misappropriate your love to something else. And so you're calling out to Hashem and saying, "What am I supposed to do? I'm on the edge. I'm about to lose it. My Yiddishkeit is going to fall apart in a minute." So Hashem says, "Okay, you lost it all. You're completely lost. Is anything left?" So I still know that I'm a Yid. I'm a Jew. I have a Jewish soul. I still know that that's the case. I haven't lost that yet. That's still mine. The animal soul hasn't got me on that level. I still know who I am. I still know that I'm a Jew. That the essence of my soul is still connected to you on some subconscious level. That's all I've got left." So Hashem says, that's all we need. That's all you need to work on. So go and do a mitzvah. And another mitzvah, and another mitzvah. Go and learn Torah. As much Torah as you can. You're not in the mood. You don't want to do it. You have no drive to do it. Break yourself and do it anyway. And that mitzvah, what should you fall back on to do that mitzvah? Where should you dig into to get the wherewithal to do the mitzvah? Where's it coming from? Not from your heart, because your heart is numb. Not from your mind, because you're completely blank in your mind. From the essence of your soul that knows you're Jewish, this is what you've got to do. And do as many mitzvahs as you can, and learn as much Torah as you can, and do it with the essence of your soul. And that will solve your problem. The love that was missing will come running back. When you do it that way. Because you're going to the very essence, the very depth of your soul. That's the source of all emotion and all other faculties. When you open up that level, when you go to that level of the soul, so then the lower levels of your soul, your intellect, your emotion, your conscious levels of the soul, they will be replenished when you go to the source. How does that work? How are you able to replenish your love and your inspiration and your understanding? How is that all able to be replenished through the essence of the soul? That we'll have to see in the rest of the discussion where Elisha explains it to the woman. God willing, next week.